All right, let's give the Lord a hand. Thanks, Elder Sam. You were very loud today. Appreciate it. Right. All right, cool. So today we're going to talk about, a little bit of, things that's been going on in my life and, you know, things I've had to correct for myself. And, I come to the realization that, on certain things, I don't need to go to pastors to ask. I don't need pastors to tell me to correct myself on certain things that I know I'm messing up on. Yesterday, APC was talking about something in the cell group, and what he said is that 9 times out of 10, what God's gonna tell you when you come to look for an answer is He's gonna tell you to figure it out. And that means you know what the right decision is, you know what the right thing you need to do is. So basically what he's saying is you need to make the right choice and change whatever you're not doing correctly. So today's title of my message is Don't Fall Back into the Same Trap. And, over the past couple of months, God has been using me a lot more. And, I always say, I don't know why God, promoted me to head deacon, this, that, and the other. And, now I'm starting to realize why God did. And, it could be, honestly, it could be a challenge sometimes because, you're fighting between wanting to do right and your flesh telling you to do something else, right? And so, over the past couple of months, God has been using me a lot more and showing me a lot more about myself to break down areas that I hold on to that I didn't know were still there or were there in the first place. Not only within church, but also in work as well. And what I realized is that, the higher position you are in, God starts to reveal things to you for you to fix first. Or if you can't get it right, or if you can't fix your problems, somehow, some way, it will end up in pastors' hands, and then pastors come to you, and then you have a long talk in a meeting, and basically you'll be addressed with the things that you know you need to fix. And at that point, you just let it get to that point. Because, ABC always says this, is that what's deep down in your heart, what you're holding on to, and what you need to let go. And, I've started to realize that, and this is one of the good things about listening to what you hear and, the preachings and also what pastors tell you, because, that's basically what it is. You know what you're not supposed to be doing. You know what you need to do right, and it's up to you to change it. That's basically what that means, right? You shouldn't have to. If you learn and you understand, you start to, you listen to what pastors teach you and so forth. You should know already when it comes to the point of you're doing, you're slacking in the area. You need to pick back up and so forth. You should already know to change your thinking, fix whatever you need to fix, and get back on track. Because if you don't get back on track, it's going to take you a very long time to try to find the track again to get back on. Because you've fallen so far off. And and when what I realize is that as you go higher, God starts to bless you in a lot of areas, but also He's doing that to make sure that that you're still going to choose Him over everything else that you've been granted. And reason why I called it Don't Fall Back into the Same Trap is because a lot of people, realize, they start gaining things, they start getting higher and so forth, and then they start to look at other things. And, I'm very glad that, I've been able to evaluate and learn, listen to pastors and, just see them talk to certain people and learn from other people's experiences to then know that, this is not right. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be a leader and I'm supposed to stay committed to my priorities, no matter how hard they get, no matter, how difficult they may be. But I need to stay on track. Over the past few months, I've had to step up in a lot of areas in my spiritual life, physical, and mentally. Within that, I found myself falling back into the old ways. The reason why I'm falling back into my old ways is because the things that I may be put on task with, or whatever the case may be, in all different areas, it may seem a little hard. Over the past couple of months, work has gotten harder for me, and they've had to adjust people's locations, and with adjusting of locations and a lot of buildings closing down and so forth, I've had to gain more vehicles. As you guys know, I do fleet management. Basically, I oversee vehicles for Tesla's energy solar side. And so with that, I have probably the most fleet vehicles out of every local fleet manager there is. And, I take coverage over 200 and something vehicles. And, with work being more, active for me, and, with, tasks that come from my authority, all of it may come a little overwhelming. And I know a lot of people feel that sometimes when work is a lot, then you got church that's a lot, and then you're trying to figure out what to do, and then you're like, I'm so tired. I don't want, I just don't feel like doing this today. And then one day you start feeling like that, the next day you start doing it again, and then you start falling into the same trap again. And that was me, right? In my notes here, within that, I found myself falling back into my old ways, like getting tired in prayer. I know you guys heard about me, being tired in prayer at times where, back then. And, it was a very, how do I explain it? It was a very mandatory situation that I needed to get out of in order to become a leader. And so, with that being said, I've had that same issue occur recently in the past couple of months where, I'll either get tired during prayer and I'll give my full prayer to God, and, reading, but not reading enough, right? And, in that moment, I had two options. And God only gives you two options, really. There's no third option. And in a theoretical sense, God really gives you one option, but we choose to take an option that God doesn't really want us to do. And and I had a choice to either go back to my old habits or know what I need to do and step up and stop thinking of my old ways and remember that I'm a leader, and in order to be a leader, you have to be able to sacrifice your time. You have to be willing to sacrifice, your days. Some days, and I'm not even gonna lie to you, some days I don't go to bed till 2:00 in the morning and gotta get up at 5. And, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I've had to realize that if that's what it takes to do what I need to do in a day, then that's just what it takes. It's not about, what, oh, well, God, I don't have my days to go do the things that I want. At the end of the day, when I came here, God basically, this is what I signed up for. It's not to do what I want, but it's to do what God has asked me to do. And, As much as I've grown within the church and as much as I've learned, it's too much to gain that's been gained to go back. And not only me, but I feel like a lot of people forget that is that you don't look at the life that you have now. You don't look at your current stat. You don't look at your current state to fully understand that where God is taking you from, what path God has took, whatever the case may be. If you came from a broken home, if you couldn't afford anything, and so forth, I feel like we all forget that where we came from. And if you really look at it, if you really look at where you came from and where you are now, it's too much to sacrifice over just one thing to lose it all. And at this point, it was a test for me to overcome. And I did a lot of thinking and a lot of realization that, if I don't get this right, and there's no way that God could continue to use me. I have to get my situations correct, and I need to make sure that my heart is right, and I need to make sure I'm not doing things I'm not supposed to, and I need to get back on track, and I need to make sure that do what God has asked me to do, which is to be a leader. And as we all know, he trusts me with things. And with that, I can't be trusted if I'm not doing the right thing. Deuteronomy 6:12-13. And it says, "Be careful not to forget the Lord, who rescued you from slavery in the land of Egypt. You must fear the Lord your God and serve him. When you take an oath, you must use only his name." When I read and pray, I need to be making sure that I'm looking to him over all things. When I'm going to work, when it seems like it's too hard, when it seems like, I just want to give up sometimes, I got to remember that I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for God. Over the past, couple of months, I've had to basically, in a sense, oversee Darian, my sister, and, that situation. And, I ain't gonna lie to you, with them, sometimes it could be a little hard. Mm-hmm. But, I love them, and, they getting it, and, they getting on track. But, God has asked me to, basically, make sure that they're, they get their driver's license and do all the things. And, Darian got his permit. So maybe, and that's what, also I was thinking about that too, is that, maybe why it took so long for Darian or either Ray to get their permit is because maybe at that point in time, maybe because I was slacking in my areas. I feel that if I was doing what I was supposed to do a long time ago, which is basically asking them where they need help at, asking them what do they need to be able to, to pursue what they need to do. I couldn't do that because I was too busy I was basically too busy in a bubble of like, it's too hard for me, basically. And I was talking with Darian and, in the car the day before he took his test, he was like, I got a question for you. How do you put what does it mean to put hand over hand? He was like, I get those questions wrong every time. And, he never asked me that question. And I never understood, I didn't understand why till now. And it's probably because I was never really asking him in the first place, what was the reason why you guys were failing? And that plays a part on myself. Because I'm supposed to be helping them. I'm supposed to be helping lead them to what they need to get taken care of. And without that, I'm not doing my part, because at the end of the day, I'm not doing my full part, which is reading and praying with a full heart. I'm not taking care of God's business to the 100% that I used to take care of, because because I'm falling back into my old ways. And, even with Ray, she asked, well, I heard about her little situation and she hasn't passed yet. And, I went to her and I asked her, what are the questions that you're missing that you don't understand? And she was able to explain it to me, and I was able to give her a different angle of how to remember what these signs mean, what this means, and so forth. But how is she ever going to know that if I was never to ask her this question? Why did it take so long for me to ask them what is the reason, or what is the questions that you are failing on? That's because I wasn't in the right mindset to do so. And, I decided no matter how hard it may get or be in a form of leadership, even how much of a workload I may have, I'm going to stay up as late as I need to, focus on as much as I need to, and stay consistent. I don't need pastors to tell me to get back on track. I don't need them to, basically hold a bottle to my mouth and tell me what I need to do. I need to take care of business like God is asking me to. And, I feel like a lot of us are expecting God to send us presents and this, that, and the other, and a bottle to hold on to while pastors guide us through our daily life. And at a certain point, we got to get rid of that, and we got to be willing to step up of ourselves and really own up to what God is asking us to do. Whether that be our job, whether that be our life, whether that be our day-to-day lives, whatever the case may be. We don't need pastor to tell us that we're doing wrong. We know when we're doing wrong, and we know when we're not doing the right thing, and we know because we have that feeling in us that, oh, this is not right. And with that, when you have that feeling, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to fix your issue. You don't fix your issue, you're just going to keep falling into the same thing, and you're going to keep having that feeling in your heart like, oh God, I'm not doing the right thing. And, at the end of the day, I'm still going to try to do my best, even though I haven't corrected this issue, and hopefully everything will turn out okay. And as we all know, it will not turn out okay until you fix your issue. And, within that season, I've learned a lot. And, I've learned that in areas that, it makes you not only, I feel like when you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing and you need to get back on track, you realize that you're not doing a lot of things in a lot of areas that you need to fix. And it's kind of crazy, because one issue will pop up, and then next thing you know, you start to realize that, oh, maybe this issue and this issue I need to fix too. And what I realize is that I need to be more patient and more understanding, and speaking to others with a better demeanor as well. I feel like, because I was actually talking to my manager, because we had this feedback review just on Friday. I think it was either Friday or Saturday or Thursday, something like that. No, it was Thursday, because I don't work on Friday. And, she was like, what is, she was basically asking all these questions, and then she was like, what do you think is something that you could work better on? And she was like, for my case is that, I feel like, this is what she said. And she was like, I feel like I'm a little bit too direct with people because, basically what it is, I just want to get it done and I want to end the conversation and just let it be what it's going to be so we can go move on to the next thing. And I come to realize that I'm a little direct too. Because I just want to get it done, and I just want to be done and over with it, and just let it be where it's gonna be. And as long as we taking care of business, that's all we need. That kind of rhymed, but no, that's not what God is asking. He needs you to be more understanding. He needs you to listen to other people. He needs you to, when you're doing things. It's okay to be direct in certain situations because that's what you have to be. But what I realize is that I'm a little direct too much. And, I've had to, I'm working on adjusting myself. I'm working on adjusting that in that area. And, what I come to realize is it's a lot more easier that way because when you're a little bit too direct, you don't really get the full other side of somebody else's story. So then you wonder why they never get it because you never understood where they were coming from. And yeah, those are things that God has been showing me and what I need to work on. And, I came to the realization that I'm gonna get back on track, not because I feel like I'm gonna lose everything, and if I don't do the right thing, God's gonna take everything away. That's not not the right thinking to have. You need to get back on track because you need to do the things that God has asked you to do. And Exodus 22. It's like hot up here. It's probably because I got this jacket on. But I am the Lord your God who rescued you from the land of Egypt, the place of your slavery. He took us out of a place where, all things were broken, all things were not the same. All things were, looked like they were falling off the ends of the earth. And what we realized is that, God has really taken us from a place where, we were broken, we had nothing, we was basically holding on to change by the enemy. That's what basically if you don't know what that is, basically that's what slavery is. You're holding on by chains and you have nothing to go for. And, he broke those chains and he took us out of the wilderness, out of where we were at, and he brought us into somewhere where it's more grand, where we weren't need basically we weren't how to explain it. We don't deserve it, right? And I had to get back to that thinking of where I don't deserve any of this. This is not the reason why I'm here. The reason why I'm here is because he saved me out of a place, and he's expecting me to do good things like him and even greater. And I can't do greater things, and I can't do even better if I'm not even willing to do better for myself. So you have to have a change of action. You have to have a game plan. You need to have something that's going to help you stay consistent in your areas. So with me, I make sure that I pray and read when I get home from work, because I think this is where I started falling off a little bit, is where I would get home and I would take a nap. Well, because I'm tired, of course, but at the end of the day, it's still daytime outside. So it's easier, I guess it's easier for me to know that it's still daytime outside, so it's easier for me to go home and just pray. And so I changed my habit. Instead of going home taking a nap, I go home and pray. Instead of going home and taking a nap, I go home and read. Then, I'll take a nap when all my duties are done. I don't, you have to have a different game plan when you know you're messing up. Because basically, what you're doing is you're in a game plan that you know that you're consistent in, and that, one day, you might slip up and not be consistent in that game plan, and, you mess it all up. So you got to create a new one. And, I know it was probably the most randomest thing, but on Saturday, I was like, APC, I'm going to come pray with you. I know he looked at me like, okay, that's kind of weird because I ain't never asked APC to pray with him, and he usually prays in the morning. So it was even awkward for me to say I was gonna go pray. But I did that because I'm gonna keep myself accountable. I don't care what it takes. I'm gonna keep myself accountable and make sure that I'm taking care of my business. If I have opportunity to pray with somebody else, I'm going to go pray with somebody else, because then I have the opportunity not to fall asleep, because that other person going to be there and they're going to keep me accountable, because who likes to fall asleep when somebody else is in the room? They're going to look at you like, what are you doing? So with that being said, me and APC, we connected our AirPods and we prayed 1 hour and we was good. And then we went to play basketball. But I'm not gonna make an excuse no more why I can't pray, why I can't read. Even if I can't read 4 chapters a day, I'm going to at least read as many chapters as I can, where I can and where I can fit it in. I've read the Bible three times now, going on my 4th time, and I'm gonna keep reading the Bible until the day I die. And and also the only way that I'm going to be able to keep preaching is that I have to continue to read the Bible, because I need to find new revelation in different things. If I'm not reading the Bible, then I can't bring new revelation, because there's nothing to give, because I'm not reading the Word. And if I'm not praying, my spirit's going to be off. And, at the end of the day, none of this matters, because I'm not doing the right thing. And so Isaiah 41:10. Don't be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up with my victorious right hand. I'm now thankful and very thankful that, God has put a lot of things on my plate. God has asked me to help, APC in the area of, music and rap and stuff, like doing the lighting and doing all these things. And then, I have to help Elder Sarah and Pastor Eugene's Holy Dance team, which is very fun all the time. And even Elder Joseph's team, I help them a lot too. And, not only that, also, I have my personal things in life now that are upping up on me, and I have to make sure that I'm managing that and my spiritual life to make sure that I stay on track on both sides, and not to let my regular life outside affect my spiritual life. And as I'm, doing these things, as I'm basically changing around again, but changing for the right purpose again in my life, God has also, did some, some blissful things over the past, couple of months, which I thought was very cool at the same time, but He's also given it to me to make sure that I'm not just looking at that, but I'm also making sure that I focus on my other things. Pastor, is it okay that I share what I told you and Pastor Eugene about my race? So, when I finally started to make the right decision, it's not like I don't know if it was because I started making the right decision or whatever the case may be, but I was in the car with my manager one day. It was about a month ago, or maybe a couple weeks back, and mind you, I'm only 23 years old, and she was like, "Oh, I got some news. I got a secret for you, but you can't tell nobody." And I'm like, "Okay, you know I don't talk, so, you can tell me. And she was like, you getting another raise. And, I was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, that's nice. And because, they don't really give you like a big raise the majority of the time. And she was like, they're adjusting to the cost of living. So it's a mandatory thing that they have to give you a raise. So currently I make $31.50. And on January 8th, I will be making $36.50. And, it doesn't, you know, and there's been plenty of times where, I wanted to just leave my position, and I've asked pastor to go to different positions, and, you know, but I feel like it was meant for me to stay in this position because I still have a lot to learn, and my manager is willing to teach me a lot more than any manager would possibly teach. And, at the age of my age, you don't see any 23-year-old making $36 an hour. And, of course, it's by the grace of God. And I'm very thankful for it. And, it also gives me, it doesn't, I wouldn't say it gives me motivation, but it gives me a reason to go harder at work, because I think God is showing me that there's more to this job that I can see, but I need to focus and I need to do the things that are hard for me now so I can get where, He wants me to go later. And so, as I was saying, I had my feedback review just, just on Thursday. She gave me a lot of areas that, oh, well, this is what I want to see, you're very generous, you're very kind, this, that, the other. She broke all this stuff down, but this is where I want you to work on. And then she basically said everything that she gave good in the feedback side, because she said she wants me to explore more into those things because I have the gift of it, but she wants me to bring whatever is in it out of it. And this is what she said. She was like, this is in a bubble. And pastor always talks about this, is that we're too stuck in our bubble sometimes. And she wants me to come out of my bubble and be more, proactive in those areas. And she said, these are the things that I'll look for to promote you at a later date. And, in that moment, I don't know, I ain't never been this excited to like actually work really hard. It's kind of funny. you know, but when she told me about these things, I was like very excited to like do all the things that she was telling me. I don't know why. It was kind of weird actually. Because, I literally called my manager and I was like, yeah, so if you ever need anything in the Bay Area, I'm your right-hand man. And I was like, what is wrong with me? But, I realized that it's not me. God wants me to do well in my job. And he wants me to do the right thing. So as I'm getting back on track, what does it mean to do the right thing? To do all the right things in all areas of your life. Your job, your spiritual life, your at-home life, your family life, whatever the case may be. Being more understanding, not being discouraged, being more loving, being more caring, and being more understanding. And through all of this, I remember one thing that got me to this place that I am now. Luke 12:42 through 43. And the Lord replied, a faithful, sensible servant is one to whom the master can give the responsibility of managing his other household servants and feeding them. If the master returns and finds the servant has done a good job, there will be a reward. When I got promoted head deacon, this was the Bible verse that was posted on band. And, it wasn't posted on band for any particular reason. It was because I was being promoted head deacon. And, when it comes to it, you know, I look at that now, and whom the master can give the responsibility of managing his other household servants. I'm starting to get in the place where I have to manage certain people, and I have to make sure that certain areas are getting planned correctly and so forth. And it's up to me to do right, to treat right, to understand the other person and to help. And as much as I didn't realize it, as much as I didn't know what this verse actually meant, I'm starting to realize it because a lot of other things been added onto my plate. And I know there's a lot of things that God has planned for me in the future, but I also know that now God is looking to see if I'm going to take care of the task that I really say that I'm going to commit to. So, I don't really care about how much I have to multitask, how much time and energy I have to give in a day. I have to make sure that I give my time and energy to my full extent, no matter how tired I am or whatever the case may be. And, when I view the two different sides and areas, when you look at it, you don't really like the other side. You just like the other side because it makes you feel good. It makes, but at the end of the day, even with the spiritual life, what I come to realize is that even though, you may slack off in that area that you still need to be, active in is still going to be there the next day. And it's going to be there the next day until you take care of it. And, so, like per se for me, if whatever the case may be, I need to make sure that, I finish a lyric video or a rap song or a beat or whatever the case may be. If I postpone it one day, it's still going to be there the next day. It's going to be there until you actually take care of it and it is done. And it can't be done if you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And, Isaiah 41:10. Don't be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up with my victorious right hand. I can't be afraid of, the things that are yet to come in my life. I can't be so attached to being scared of how much God is going to put on my plate. What I need to focus on is the things that are going on in my life right now. And I feel like a lot of people, get a little too ahead of themselves and then start to look at what God may assign later or what God may do then. Oh, if God does this, if God does that, then, my life will be so much busy and I will have no time. And, if me or we are not able to get it right now, he cannot use us for the greater things later. APC was talking about this yesterday in the cell group, is that, if we're young, right, for instance, this is for all the young people too. If you have the opportunity now to take on any task that you can, any opportunity that the Lord has granted you, you need to take it. The reason why you need to take it now is because as you get older, you can already learn what the basics are for the future. And, APC has always taught me that I need to work now in the right time where, I don't know nothing and I'm willing to learn something so that later it can be used for the greater purpose. And, that's kind of what I've had to learn, is that what I've learned in the past, I can apply now because I've learned it and I've applied it. But the only way that you can use it is if you apply it to yourself. You can't use something that you know is there, but you don't want to apply it, so you just go around it, and then next thing you know, nothing is changing because you don't want to use what's right in front of you. And this doesn't only work for my situation, but this works for any situation that there is. We know the answer. We know what we need to do. We know what's in our heart right now. We know what we need to let go of. The only way things are going to change or are going to get better is if we actually pick up what we've been taught and use it. It's a spiritual weapon, basically. Either we let the enemy in or we take what we've learned and use it against the enemy and come out as a different person. As I move forward, I know there's a lot more areas in my life that I need to take care of that I don't see that are yet to come. But, one thing I can say is I'm using anything that I learned in this time, rather that be 6 years. It's actually been 6 years since I've been here, which is kind of random. But glory to God that I've been here for 6 years. It's been, whether what I've learned in 6 years or what I'm learning today in current times, I'm going to use with me as I go down the road because I know that I can use it. And God is granting it to me right now so that whenever a test comes in the area, I have a different lot of ways of different lot of ways that I know that I could use later for the area that may come to pass later. And I'm going to try to not keep falling back into the same trap. And how I'm not going to fall back into the same trap is if I let go fully of what I haven't let go of yet. A lot of people think that they may have let go of something that, that they, thought they let go, and God uses that later to see if you actually let go of it. And it shows that I haven't fully let go. And it's, now it's up to me to make sure that I fully let go in that area so God can use me to my full potential. And, I want everyone in here to think like, is there an area that I'm not giving up that God knows that I know that I need to give up? That he knows that I need to give up so he can use me for a greater purpose? Is there an area that I'm not giving up that I'm holding on too much to? And to ask God to help you fully let it go. Because if you don't ask God to help you fully let it go, as I said when I first started this message, is that it's going to come out some way or shape or form. And then God's going to lay their hammer down, and then he going to be like, you need to do this, and that. When God doesn't need to come to you, say you need to do this, and that, because you have a first stage where you know where you're doing wrong and you need to fix it. But pride is too much in the way because we don't want to let go of what we're too stuck to. We can always be mad at the world. We can always be mad at ourselves. But in a technical sense, there's nothing to be mad at when we could just make the right choice now. We look at people a certain way. We feel like certain people, get under our skin. Well, that's probably because, you haven't fully let go. You haven't fully submitted to what you need to submit to and understand. I understand that I need to be more understanding to people. I realize that I need to be more nice in areas. I may not always respond the same, respond the correct way. And why is that? Is because it's stuff that I've seen in the world that makes me act the way that I do now. And I got to break that because, I can't use that with God's people. I have to come with a different area in my life. So for me, what I'm doing now is making sure that when I talk to people, I speak to them with the right tone. I speak with them with the generous heart like God is asking me to. So like when people come to me, when people used to come to me at work, when I'm trying to take care of my job, and they come to ask me like, oh, hey, Arshonti, this, that, the other, I just be like, bro, like, you know what to do. Why are you asking me? But now when they come to me, hey, Arshonti, good morning. Good morning. How can I help you? Okay. Well, this is what you do. And what I realize is that I'm actually starting to apply it without actually realizing it. And that's when you start to realize that you're actually applying without realizing it, that means that you're trying to do better. But when you continue to try to realize what you're doing, it's still going to keep you in that same trap because you're going to realize that you really don't want to help this person. Or you really don't want to do the right thing. So, for future, the reason why it's called Don't Fall Back into the Same Trap is because you should not be going back to the same old ways that you got taken out of. You should be going from, like Pastor would say, glory to glory and not glory to past. See how it don't make sense? Glory to past, it's in the past for a reason. Leave it there and move forward, glory to glory. So, for me and for all of you, what I want is everyone to realize where they're at, where they came from, what their life was in the past, and where God has brought you to now. And get back on track with whatever area you're not doing the right thing in, and not expect God to come to you later and tell you what you're doing wrong, but doing the right thing now so God can come to you later and say that I trust you and I can use you because you've made the right choice. And God knew that I possibly would fall back into my same trap and everything, so forth. It's not a coincidence. But he's also seeing if I can use what I've learned to actually fight what I've been going through. And that's why he takes you through seasons, so you can learn from them and use that as a weapon to get yourself back on track and not have to feel like you have to go to pastors for everything. And, I'm very thankful that I get to help a lot more and do a lot more things in different areas, help plan a lot of different things. And, it's a learning experience for me because I am a leader now, and this is how I'm going to be able to lead later. Got to learn to plan things out fully and thoroughly, no matter how much time it takes. So let's all break down the areas that we are still holding up and allow God to bless us, but also allow God to use the areas in our life to actually talk to other people and explain to them what they're going through, what you're going through, and be real with yourself. It doesn't, a lot of people think it's hard to come up and be honest and say, even for me, at first as a leader, at first you don't want to go up there and tell people like, oh, I'm not reading and praying and not doing the right thing. But that's not the reason why God has made you a leader is to be real to other people. Areas in my life I need to fix, and I'm going to fix them, and I need to get back on track, and that's what I need to do. Not going to get up here and be like, oh, I'm still reading and praying. No, I'm not really reading and praying. I need to get back on track. And a lot of us need to get back on track. Like how, the NASCARs, sometimes, if you're not on track, you go into the gutter or whatever the case may be. That's where a lot of us are. We need to get back on the racetrack and finish the race. We need to make sure that God is our number one priority throughout our daily lives. So, don't fall back into the same trap. Amen.